Um,
What is going on, everybody? Happy
Hi.
Tuesday. Hope you're doing awesome. For those of y'all who are just hopping in here right now, if you can do me a favor and please make sure that your microphone
That's weird. Come here.
would be super helpful. Just keep that in mind. We got a bunch of people registered here. On average, when I do a live class, I get about 25 to 30% turnout from the registrations. On the registrations today, we had about 170 people fill out the registration. So let's wait and see. I'm going to wait a minute or two. We'll start right around 8:33, 8:34, just to kind of be fair to everybody. Some people have other commitments and they have to free up their evening to make it here. And I appreciate you guys, parents, dog moms, dog dads, all that stuff. Everybody just got to have to take the minute, just to really get yourself in the mindset. I appreciate that. Let's just take a second, grab a pen, grab a paper, grab some snacks, some tissues, and we're going to settle right into this. The class is going to be between 30 and 45 minutes. I'm going to stop in middle for some questions. There's going to be a lot of information here, okay? So it's just going to be a massive information dump. And the super cool thing here is that it's all going to be recorded. It's all going to be shared with you. So if you need to slow it down and go back to review it and listen to it, go right ahead. That's the whole point of this. Every single thing that I do in my organization, I make sure that it's recorded like that. If I need to go back, verify something, fact check something, hold somebody accountable, or even just remember something that I said. It happens sometimes that things are working really quickly. So give me one more minute here. We'll get everything set up and we'll set this stream to go. For those of you, wow, there's a lot of new faces here just popping through the participants room. If you can do me a favor and drop me a city and state, let me know where y'all are from. Would love to see where we have everybody from. And then if I can't get in, then send her the link. There's no reason that she shouldn't be able to get in. She's right here. There we go. Awesome. Some people are joining. It takes a little bit of time as we work our way through just letting everybody in here. So let's get this rolling. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Let's get this set and ready to roll. Okay. Alrighty, the last of the people are hopping on in here. I'm gonna go ahead here and share my screen. Let's take this one away. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 90K in 90 days class here. This is the modern day way. For those of y'all who do not know me, we'll jump right into this in 1 second. Thank you for being here. The goal of the presentation today is really to give you a new perspective on what is working now in today's market and what you can carry over into 2024 by using the things that work for me to show up every day 100% for myself and my agent, my agents on my team. The goal of this class is to show you how I'm adding over 100 new leads to my database every week, how to keep leads engaged, responsive in order to convert, and then obviously the modern day way to real estate in 2024. And we will unpack a little bit about what's going on with the 90K in 90 days challenge, right? Which is why all you guys are here. So first of all, who am I? Why am I qualified to show you guys this? Like, who am I, seriously though, right? So my name is Joe Brickman. I'm the modern day agent. I live in Bal Harbour, Florida, and I've been licensed for 37 months as a real estate agent. In the last 37 months, I've closed and pended over $115 million in volume, completed over 340 transactions as a solo agent. In January of 2023, I founded the Modern Day team. Currently, we're the only mega icon team within EXP in all of South Florida. So I also happen to be the youngest mega icon team leader by almost 15 years. So, for me, jumping into this and doing all of this, and running through this, for those of you guys who are wondering how I got to 340 transactions, here in Miami, we have a gorgeous rental market, right? So I work a lot with investors. We sell a lot of commercial buildings, do a lot of that stuff. And obviously, those transactions count towards our total transaction count. So these are the top 4 things that are working with me right now to actually get client responses. So for those of you guys who this is your first time joining me in a class, I like to just jump right into it. There's no fluff. There's no, hey, this is kind of what we're doing. Here's a link for an upsell. I don't do any of that here, right? So grab a pen and paper, take the notes as you need them. And we're really just going to cruise right through this as fast as we can, right? So these are the top 4 things that are working for me right now to get my client responses: video, texts, and emails. If you guys are not using videos in 2023, you should definitely start using them in 2024. There's a lot of people here who actually participated in either 1 or 2 of the last 90K in 90 days real estate challenges over this year, 2023. And we really implemented video, and you can really reach out to them. If some of you guys, Anna Marie, I know you're here. I know you use video a lot. If you can hop in the messages chat real quick and just let people know what video is done for you for your business, it's definitely something that we need to get into. So, we got people here from Orlando, Chicago, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, Austin, Parkland, Florida. That's awesome. We got people from everywhere. Great to see you guys, and happy to be here, right? So the biggest thing here now when it comes to really getting involved into real estate sales, especially now where the market's a little slow, transactions aren't always turning, and things aren't happening, and you don't really have anything fun to come running into the office with, tell everybody what's going on. This is really where our mindset gets challenged, right? And it's really important for us to keep a really strong perspective and focus on what we're doing, why we are doing what we are doing, and how none of these things really make a difference in the grander scheme of things, so long as we stay consistent, right? It's very easy to let yourself down when we're not able to hit their goals and where we want to be. The biggest thing here is, like, a lot of us, especially myself, when I first got into this business, I used to have very big expectations of myself. There's certain things that I wanted to do, certain things I wanted to get done. I used to take myself a little too seriously. And when I realized that if I just let go a little bit, right, and I let go of the expectations, and I just went in with the full focus that there's going to be somebody who's going to need my help, and I'm going to try to figure out and see how I can help them best, right? Or just having a good time, honestly, right? As you build experience, as you figure things out, as you maybe encounter an expired listing in your dials in the morning that's been expired for the 4th time, and the guy still doesn't want to lower the price. All right, cool. I'll take it for a little bit, right? Because let me get comfortable with how this works. There's no real expectation up front. You just want to get out there, put your name out there, market yourself, right? The problem is that when you jump into marketing yourself, especially on social media, right? You may have been connected with somebody like me. The only way that this class was actually marketed right now was on social media. That's how this challenge started, and that's how this challenge gets marketed, right? So everybody here and everybody that registered saw me at a certain point, and they were like, yo, that is on point. I want to join. I want to see what he's got doing, right? Or maybe there's just a little bit of curiosity. But when you try to implement a lot of those things on your own, sometimes you can feel stuck. And when you feel stuck, and kind of like my little parched throat, right? It's really hard to continue moving forward, because you need to take some sort of action in order to loosen yourself up. Now, for me, what's worked out the best was having a social media planner, right? Because by having a social media planner, by having a social media calendar, what it did for me was, even on mornings where I wake up in the morning and I'm not sure what to talk about, my brain is completely blank, and I'm just not interested in adulting today, I can still go right back to my social media calendar, click on it, and this is a QR code that if you scan, it'll bring you over to one of my Facebook groups. Then in that Facebook group, we share social media calendars, and there's a PDF for you to be able to jump in there, right? And you can literally download that PDF once a month, use it all on your own. I'm a very big believer in sharing is caring, building a bigger table, not a bigger fence. And this is what I do. So we'll hang around here for 1 second. You guys can scan this and we'll move on right along. So I'm really big into numbers, right? And that's a lot of what this challenge is about. It's about tracking and accountability in order to be able to predict your growth and success over the course of the rest of the year, right? Because 90 days is just 1/4 of the year. But at the same time, we all know that our results are directly reflected from the actions that we took 90 days ago. So in running and computing my numbers, right, I figured out that I need to increase my numbers by 45% in 2024 to have the same numbers that I had this year. And that sounds a little scary. You're like, dude, holy crap, I can barely figure out how to get my dialer going and how to get everything set up. And then I don't even have the patience to sit to make it through 100 dials. How am I supposed to increase myself from 150 to 215, or from 215 to 410? How am I going to get there? What am I doing, right? As you guys can see, I'm not the best at math, right? But if you look at the statistics, right, which is really where we're able to pull a lot of our data from, we look at trends and we look at history, because I might not be the most educated or, the one with the most accolades when it comes to sitting down in a room, but I do have my stats and I do have my performance from whatever it is that I'm analyzing, because knowledge, data is power, right? So now that I know that I have to increase my numbers by 45% to have the same numbers, which I'm going to finish this year with, I think 51 or 52 closed, like I want to now double that, right? So if I want to double that and I want to go from 52 to 105, I'm now going to have to double my output by 90%, right? So the reality is, based off of again, this is my personal opinion. I think that real estate volume is going to drop by at least 10% on average. Here in Miami, I think it's going to go down a little lower over the course of the year because we're going to have a little dip, right? They're talking about all these big dips. People are waiting for things to happen. Not necessarily will they deliver on those things. What will end up happening is there will be this miss, right? Where on the one hand, we have one graph going up, one graph going down, and then we're not going to see them come together again for a little while. So I believe that I'm going to have to increase my price point, right? And also my transaction count. So if my average transaction, right now is about $615,000, $700,000, I'm going to want to go to 9, right? I'm going to try to go to a little bit of a bigger space. I'm not saying go become a luxury agent. I'm saying just increase by one little comma, one little number, maybe if it's going to be 600, go to 700, 700, go to 900, push yourself a tiny little bit and add a little bit more. You see, but the thing is that you're going to get really overwhelmed as you push yourself to go where you got to go, just like Steve Harvey was over here, right? He's in this scenario. He's not sure what to do. And this is one of his really, really famous reactions, right? When he's met with something that he has absolutely no idea how to respond. And I was met with that too in the beginning, because when I joined, my first brokerage that I was with was a 100% commission split brokerage. And all I had to do was pay a fee. So I would walk in the morning, they'd say hello. I literally didn't talk to them the rest of the day, no matter what was happening with my transactions. And I really felt stuck. So I realized that the beautiful thing about getting out there and connecting with other people is that we're able to all be accountable to each other, right? And if you go ahead and scan this QR code as well, this is another resource that you can use, which is a little accountability group, which even if you're not going to move forward all the way with the 90K 90 days real estate challenge, and you're not going to want to really commit to do that or put that all down and really go down on paper, at the very least, you could be in a group with other people who are all trying to move their bottom line forward at the end of the day, regardless of how they choose to do that. So for me, one of the big things that helps me with my business every single day is having a super clear goal of where I want to be, right? And in order to do that, I need to get clear with my numbers. So if you're on a team right now, or you're a high-performing real estate agent, someone who's really on top of their game, at this point in 2023, you should already be operating on like a 2024 mindset, right? Like right now, we're not really focused on anything that's happening in 2023 because the closings that are happening are closings that are happening. There are no more closings that are happening for the rest of the year. It's just not happening, right? It's just not. It's an unfortunate reality. I'd love to be able to sell more real estate this year, but title companies, attorneys, all those people, they've been vacationing since December 1st, man, for real, right? They've been dreaming about it. So for us, it becomes really hard to be able to transact. But if I know my numbers and I know where I am this year in terms of where I want to be, then I can already start taking all the lessons that I collected and all the notes that I left in every single deal. And then I can start bringing myself forward and getting myself ready for 2024. So for those of y'all who have never really calculated your numbers, and this is something that's kind of new, right? You want to get a rough idea and you never really tracked any of your outputs. So the way we do it over here is I know that there's 250 days in the year that a super tip top performing real estate agent will go to work and show up in the office. The average real estate agent shows up about 197 to 215 days a year, right? So if that's the type of real estate agent that you are, that's totally cool. Just make sure that you take the average contacts per day and you only multiply them by the amount of days that you believe you're in the office. So if it's 200, right? If you take off every Sunday and Saturday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Friday, then you know that your days are a lot less, right? When I first got licensed here, there were these guys who they'd come in with this like $6 million contract and make sure that the whole office knew, and then you never heard from him again. He came back 4 months later when all his funds ran out and he's like, oh, I got busy, right? Those types of agents are not the people that are on this call. If you're on this call, you're really trying to figure out how to go crazy, how to go really, really deep into things. So give yourself permission to really take that number and write that number down and look at that number for a second and be like, holy wow, that's a lot of dials, right? So if you're going to divide that number now by the amount of deals that you got this year, right? So now if you're going to do 100 calls per day times 250, right? Which turns into 25,000 calls per year, right? So now if you're going to take that number 25,000, you're going to divide that by 31, you're going to end up with 806 calls per deal closed, which that was my total volume for last year. So last year, the number that I had, right, was walking into this year with at the very, very minimum doing 806 calls. Something that's super, super cool is I've been able to actually increase my volume this year, which we'll get to in a minute. I was able to take almost 65 days out of the office, 44 of those days. I jumped into reserve duty over in Israel and, really completely just disconnected from my business. Like I just was not in the present state or had the bandwidth to be able to operate in my business. Yet we were able to continue increasing our volume, increasing my bottom dollar, helping my agents make more money and grow without me necessarily even being here, right? So obviously those calls went down. So when you understand those numbers, right, and you know how many listings you sold, you're able to now also take your total net commissionable income, right? Many people see GCI, gross commissionable income. Nobody really talks about NCI, how much you net in your pocket. because there's one of these brokerages that, I heard a story that they used to have a lot of these big team leaders get on stage and talk about how much money, they were bringing in, how much money they were making, and what their total gross production was. But when they started auditing to actually see, hey, how much money is that dude talking about? And how much money is he actually taking home? What's on his taxes? All of a sudden, those people weren't big people who were focused anymore, because those people had a skill in creating volume, but they were not sure how to actually increase their bottom line, which at the end of the day, if you're not increasing your bottom line, then why are you scaling your business? You're just wasting more money, right? There's no point. It's like trying to drive, an expensive sports car on the rims, right? Because you're trying to go get, new tires or whatever. Like, that's not the way you do it. You have to put the car in a tow truck, you let the tow truck tow you, and then you deal with it. Otherwise, you just create more damage. So now if you're going to divide those total listings sold by your commissionable income, you're then going to end up with how much money you're making per deal. So, your gross commissionable income could be $250,000, but after you deduct your 50% split, it then becomes half of that. And then you take that and then you divide that. And let's say you did 10 listings, right? So you'll be at an average commission of $10,000. So if you're an average commission of $10,000, you're not going to want to figure out where these leads came from. Where did they come from? Did they come from paid leads? Did they come from referrals, social media? You're dialing, you're farming, walk-ins to your open houses themselves, mailers, video leads, buyer letters. Where did they come from? Fill in those blanks, right? And just to highlight for 1 second, those 3 spots, right? Where are the top 3 lead sources coming from, right? Now, here's what I realized. I realized that for me, if I'm going to take the same numbers that I did last year, right, and the numbers that I did this year, and then I'm going to take that and add that 45% to it. And in 2024, it's going to take me 967 calls for me to get the same deal count, right? Now, what if I want to scale? And what if I actually want to go instead of from 55 deals to 100 deals? So I'm going to have to go from 1,000 calls to 2,000 calls. Are you exhausted just thinking about that? Doing 2,000 calls for one transaction? Yo, like 100 dials is an hour and 40 minutes. That's like the fastest you can go, having actual proper, 19-second dials. Because if you have anything less than 19-second rings, you're not really giving yourself an opportunity to connect, because it has to send out a signal to the, the cell tower. The cell tower then has to send the signal to the phone. And then the phone, sometimes misses it sometimes. It takes about 19 seconds, right? So if the goal is 50 houses, right, for you, like this coming year, then you literally need to make 100,000 calls, right? And like, I'm getting exhausted just thinking about that right now. I kind of just want to pack this up and go to sleep, right? So like, how am I going to figure this out? How am I going to make this happen? So how many calls do I actually need to go and make? Well, my big trick is figuring out how to increase my output by leveraging things around me, right? By creating other environments and other people, even sometimes, who are now going to be pushing that message on my behalf in order to bring more deals back to me without me necessarily having to go out and fish, right? Now, the trick to really doing this is reverse engineering your process, understanding exactly what you need in order to get you to where you want to be. And you need to understand that the actions that you're taking today are literally what is going to impact you, where you're going to go. That's just how it's going to be, right? So like when it took me, here's what I realized. I realized that in real estate, people really get into real estate for 2 reasons. The first reason is because we hate accountability. Like, I literally hate having to answer to anybody other than myself. That's the first thing. And the second thing is that we're unemployable. Think about most of us, right? Like, you can't hold down a job. I know that I literally walked out of my like sales job, W-2 thing. My like first day I was kind of done. My second day I was out, right? It didn't work for me. This structure that other people created for me didn't work for me. So now that I took the regular structure and I denounced that, the first thing I had to figure out is like, okay, well then what does that look like to me? So once I got real with the things, right, and I got clarity on the things on what that meant for me, I really forced myself to get real on the usage of my time. The best way that I did that was I actually opened my phone, right? And I went to my battery settings on my phone. I looked at the usage of the battery settings on my phone. And I went to go see what applications am I using the most? Is it Instagram? Is it TikTok? Is it YouTube? Is it Safari? Is it mail? What am I pushing the most? And I went to realize that the highest amount of my battery usage goes to Facebook, goes to my text messages or WhatsApps. They kind of compete with each other, and then time on the phone. Now, obviously, old school days, right? Time that you spent on the phone was the best time that you can spend on the phone because it's the only really way you communicate with clients, right? But Chad will tell you that if you make videos and you make entertaining live videos, you'll have people that you never even thought were watching your stuff comment about something to you backhanded in some random time that you kind of happen to meet them. And then you walk out there and your brain's kind of playing tricks on you. It's like, dude, what? Was that like a compliment? Was that a bark? Was that like, what was that first of all? And oh my God, holy crap, he's actually watching my stuff, right? So once you get real on the usage of your time, you're probably going to realize that most of the time that you're saying that you're busy and you're doing, you probably have more time for calls, more events, more open houses, more lead gen, maybe even better prospecting, right? How many times have you sat down with your phone, maybe somewhere, right? And you're looking at the top right-hand or left-hand corner of your phone, and you're like, okay, right now it's 8:51, right? So if it's 8:51, 8:55, I'm done, I'm finished, right? And then you look up and next thing you know, it's 9:15. You're like, yo, where did time go, right? Having more accountability of yourself, getting real on how you're using your resources. Do you know how to use your CRM to the most? If you don't, why are you getting a new CRM? Right? Do you know what systems you need to implement or refine? If not, we need to sit down, we need to figure that out. Are there any new plans or programs that you need to add or you want to look into? What expenses are you trying to cut out? What can you spend money on better that like now that you're not, right? Like where can you have better effective usage of your money? We all spoke about making big money this year. Some of us made it, and some of us are still trying to figure out how we didn't. Right? Right. So let's just get really, really real with ourselves for a second and say, look, where did the money go? How much money am I actually walking out of this year with in the bank? Right? Because some people talk about making 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let me show you to make $487,000 in 12 months, right? But then you go and you say, hey, can you show me your bank statement at the end of the year? And it's like -$2. It's like, bro, you can't even buy me a coffee if you wanted to. Like, what's up? You know, and it's a game. It's a game. A lot of these people right now are actually getting exposed, right? And some of us have been seeing that. Some of us are going to continue seeing that. But something that you really don't realize as a real estate agent, how many subscriptions do you have to different programs, free trials, softwares, all that other type of stuff that just started hitting your cart, right? Like literally log in to your bank account, scroll through the bills that you like hate looking at and just keep on auto pay because it gives you anxiety when you think about having to pay bills, and just review them. Like look at the numbers and say, hey, that doesn't make sense. I haven't used, pay-per-view in X amount of time. I haven't used this subscription. Cancel it, dude. It's all good. Even if it's $20, $30, okay, put your ego aside and do your wallet a favor and save yourself a couple bucks because that money can now be spent to go take out a mortgage broker, to go take out, hey, who knows, somebody you may meet, right? And just say, hey, look, let's go grab a coffee. Let's say what's up. So when you get real on your skills, right, and you actually know exactly like what you can do and how you can do it, you're then going to find place within your growth structure to choose which conferences you want to go to, which trainings you want to interact with, what coaching you want to actually subscribe to, and what YouTube videos you actually want to start in creating. Notice how I put YouTube videos together with training and together with conferences and together with coaching is literally that important. Like seriously, because YouTube helps you with SEO, something we'll talk about way on later in the challenge. And the super cool thing about like actually owning and knowing your skills is that if you happen to come across or bump into somebody who you know is better at those things, you can have a conversation with them and say, hey, listen, I'm really, really good at sales and negotiation, but I'm kind of shy in front of the camera. Can you help me practice and I'll help you also get a little bit better in sales and negotiations like that you can protect your own value and always make sure you're sending listings at 6%, right? We took 2 listings this year that were under 6%. And one of them was 5.25. Okay. And that was for a $5.5 million listing. And the other one was for an $11 million sale that I took 1% because I mean, hey, it's 1%, right? Other than that, everything we do is at 6% because having these skills and knowing exactly where my value proposition is gives me the best opportunity to be able to pitch myself and say, listen, man, I know that you got the best here. There's a reason why you called me because you called me. You're going to pay for the best of what you got. Now let's go back real quick just to like your P&L. Okay. Now I know it's something that everyone's getting a little edgy. They're like, Joe, stop talking about money. Stop talking about finances. Like this is making me uncomfortable. I get it. But if you're going to cut the resources that you're not using, you're going to make your P&L a little lighter. Your accountant, first of all, will thank you. And second of all, you'll just have more free cash in the bank. Like it'll just be a little bit of a better life, especially now, right? Where yes, we're all seeing deals. 37% of real estate transactions here in Miami-Dade and Broward County are not closing. They go on the market, they sit in the market for like 30, 45 days, they burn a bunch of time in the MLS, and they just don't close. And it's like, no, there's nobody to talk to. And it's really, really frustrating, right? So by now not having to worry about additional bills because, hey, listen, we had a really great year. We were very smart with our money and we're being very calculated as to what we're doing. It's just going to give you a lot more confidence to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, hey, am I exhausting every single option that I have from the business that I'm doing? Is this what's happening right now? And if I am, awesome, let's go add another source. And if not, how else can I leverage that? Right now, I'm going to challenge you to remove one source of business from what you're doing right now. It could very well be that somebody got you gung-ho on the idea of geo farming or geo prospecting, and it sounded really, really cool, but you never really had a chance to actually jump into it because maybe you're a buyer's agent, right? And maybe you did 40 transactions this year with 38 buyers. And maybe geo farming for you or geo prospecting for you is something that doesn't really work because that whole strategy, is really built off listings. Could be that you decided that, okay, let me reframe the whole thing. Let me start sending out, cards twice a month saying under contract and just sold. And then you started realizing, just sold and under contracts, they don't really help to like build relationships with people. People want to get like a little cool postcards and handwritten, letters, maybe sometimes, maybe some gifts in the mail. But if you're just sending those cards, all you're doing is telling everybody, hey guys, I am the best paid person in our zip code. Whenever you hear that engine start in the morning, that's me, pay attention. No, people don't like that stuff, right? And that's why, if it's not really working, if it's not really converting and all you're doing is just sending out some mailers like that, just cut it. It's cool. Because now you're going to have more money, like be able to focus in other places, right? Which are going to help you grow more in your business. Now, check this out, okay? Yes, obviously there was a very, very big shift between 2022 and the end of 2023 with me, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, all that stuff. But guess what? In 2022, this event got me 23 new seller leads, literally 3 days after I met them, okay? So this was a carnival that was at a place like a church. For those Jewish brothers of mine that are here that know that we're not supposed to be inside of those, sorry, not sorry, it works for business. That being said, we built this relationship with the pastor. They brought us in here. I was able to meet with everybody, connect with everybody. And, next thing you know, I was delivering pies, right before Thanksgiving. That's what I did. I collected everybody's name, phone number, and email. It was a massive, TV. There's that giveaway right over there. They scanned the QR code. They were able to win a TV. It was an 80-inch TV. The cheapest 80-inch TV I've ever bought because it put me in front of 1,000 people. And it got me in front of 23 sellers. 4 seller transactions came from this event last year. And I know that because I tracked their information. So one event made me like almost $30,000, literally just for showing up for one weekend, right? And that's how easy and simple it is sometimes. Now check out the volume chart real quick, okay? This is 2021. So 2021, I did $13 million in sold. I did 88 rentals. I averaged about 500 calls per week. That's me personally. In 2022, I went up to $40 million, okay? That was like $10 million pending into 2023. My average was like 6,500 calls per week. In 2023, I completely shifted everything up and I cut out 2 massive sources of my business, okay? I cut out those just listed, just sold mailers and I switched that into flyers. So instead of me paying a service to now put things in the mail, I put myself inside my truck and I drove my way over to my listing 5 days before my open house and I knocked every single door from 1 p.m. until it got dark. I am so happy that we had the time change because I literally saved myself an hour now for door knocking before my open house, right? And I would go to everybody and I'd knock on the door and I'd say, hey, what's up, guys? My name's Joe. I don't know if you've seen my sign in the front. All my signs have my photo on it now. And, I don't know if you've seen my sign, but this is me. We have a house. I don't know if you have a friend, an aunt, an uncle, a brother, friend, sisters, cats, dogs, girlfriend that wants to move into the neighborhood. We have a house here for sale. Here's a flyer. We'll see you, right? And then we do food trucks and all that fun stuff. And all that stuff turns out nicely. Now, finally, right now, where I'm holding right now, there's $29 million in closed, $18 million pending, sitting on the MLS. Go ahead, please Google that, check that out. Listed, $22 million, 813. Today, signed a buyers and sellers kind of transaction broker agreement with a developer who is actually trying to sell off 110 houses in 5 different counties here in Florida. So we have that as well, right? That actually came because I was knocking on doors, giving people flyers, right? And I wasn't just sending mailers, right? I was in Dania Beach. Dania Beach is a very, very big popping area right now. I do not door knock inside HOA communities because frankly, HOA communities right now here in South Florida are extremely hard to navigate when it comes to certain loan products. There's a lot of overlays here in Florida. There's a lot of insurance problems. A lot of insurance gets super expensive. Things go up. It's intense. And I really would much rather deal with a, fee simple single family house that I can know and control all of the variables. However, we've done, right now I have 2 active listings actually in gated communities. So year to date, 46 sales, 129 rentals. I'm at 175 transactions. I coach with Glover U, and they actually hold me accountable to every single transaction. One of my favorite things by having a coach is every single one of my transactions needs paperwork to it. So they hold me accountable for that. Buyers, sellers, notice this. Half of my transactions became double-ended deals. So half of my transactions went from all of the work that I was doing to like literally be able to sit in my office and control both sides of the deals. How did I switch that up? And how did that change? And the honest truth is that it was a shift in my mindset. It was a shift in my mindset to be able to say, listen, I can still walk away with a full 6% on a transaction when I'm representing both sides without having to give any discounts, right? And this was me being able to know that I have control over me and I can really run my business the way I want to run my business. And I can look at my client back and I can tell them that, hey, this is what we're doing, right? Because I was total control of my day, like 100% from the beginning. I would tell people, I still do right now, do not answer, active client like phone calls or communications before 11 a.m. I'll acknowledge them and I'll say, hey, listen, I got your message. I'll be available after 11. I'll call you back, right? Because I believe that if I don't start my day the right way, my day will end in a chaotic mess. The best way for me to start my day is to actually start my day before everybody else, because I'm in total control of my day. I have time to think to myself. I get up between 3:15 and 3:33 Monday to Friday and 5:30 on weekends. I give myself an extra hour on weekends just to remind myself, hey, it's a weekend, chill out, don't go blow everybody up, right? Just focus on yourself. Don't make everybody crazy, right? I go to sleep at 9:45 tonight. That's not actually going to work out. This was only really the time that I had today to do this class. And it's very important that I do this class with enough time for you guys to actually prepare yourself for the challenge, because if you're going to embark on this crazy journey, you need to be properly prepared. It's not fair of me to turn around and say, hey, let's do this next week, and then we're having all this chaos, right? So we need to go into this mindset. I understand that not everybody can do that. And, to give you actionable advice, I'm literally going to give you here right now, like a sample calendar of what I offer to agents on my team. Even if you're up at 6:30 in the morning, which 6:30 in the morning is a very reasonable time, feel free to grab your camera, take a screenshot of this. If you're watching this on your phone, you can screenshot it as well. And feel free to modify this, whatever works best for you. But if you can see very, very clearly, by 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm already out there dialing leads. And then at 11 o'clock is actually when I'm going to acknowledge clients, right? And I'm going to make it a point to be like, hey, got your message. I'll call you back as soon as I can. Dialing, prospecting. My clients know already that my bigger investors, when that we've done multiple transactions together, they don't even hit me up anymore before 11 o'clock because they know I'm not going to answer them and they know I'm not going to respond to them, right? And then it actually makes it better for me, because then it gives me something to now I have to stay creative. Instead of them calling me, I have to be like, hey man, have you heard about this, right? And it forces me to also become more relatable to still keep my relationship skills, if you will. Now, the same thing applies for weekend activities. So you're asking me, hey, Joe, you're going crazy no, I do not have kids, at least none that I know about. And, it's one of those things that, when it came to, there we go, Anna Marie, thank you for that. That would have been very uncomfortable for everybody. It would have just been like, what did he just say? So, on weekend activities, right, the way that I really push myself is I push myself to really get myself past my competition. I know that my competition, people here in South Florida, come the weekend, they're out, man. They're literally they're partying Friday night, they're partying Saturday, doing a ton of drugs, out on boats. No one's working, right? And I literally saw that my first year. So I'm not saying don't take a day off, but I'm just saying that if you're going to work for 6 days a week, actually invest and be fully present and focused in those 6 days you're working. I don't work on Saturdays, but Sundays I literally work 40 Sundays out of the 52. This is kind of the commitment that I have to my business, which is how I got to where I am. I automatically have a 1 month work advantage over my competition. Now, some of you guys seeing these numbers broken down, you're like, whoa, that's a lot of days, right? Okay, so how does it make sense that sometimes you can, just get a little higher, get a little better, get a little bit more intense, right, than the average person that's around you? Because I'm just working more days than the average person, right? So even if I take off half of those 40 days, I still have 20 to 25 more days of work over anybody who thinks they're my competition. It's a whole month worth of work. Think about it for a second. That's crazy, right? We're literally it's not that I have to hold myself in a higher regard. The output that I'm literally putting out is just more. So we're able to do more, right? So this is what my week, a sample weekend routine would look like. We sleep in a little bit more by an hour, right? It's very intense to give myself the time, to really rush myself and get to where I want to go. And honestly, some weekends I'll wake up and I'll be like, you know what, dude, screw this. I'm not going to the office today. And that's okay, because I'd rather stay out of the office and not really fully dedicate myself to what I'm doing than be in the office, not fully dedicate myself to what I'm doing, piss myself off with my performance, not have any clients, go through leads, talk to people, maybe say something or do something I didn't have any. Why? There's no point. I don't try to mess with energy that isn't flowing with me. I try to get in this flow state. And if I'm in this flow state and I can connect, that's when I roll. Otherwise, it's okay. And it's totally okay to sit down at a listing appointment and say, you know what, guys, I really appreciate this opportunity. I'm going to have a colleague of mine come and deal with this, in about an hour or two. We're running a little bit behind. Thank you so much. Cheers. Right? Mindset. I'm in total control. I can do whatever I want in order to be able to serve my clients. This is what I do. I'm in total control of what I do because I'm the one who takes the actions, right? And I want to give you that same empowerment, that same confidence to be able to do that, right? It's the same thing during the week. It's the same thing during the weekend. On the weekend, though, we'll start at 10, 11 o'clock instead of 8. It gets a little bit of a better response. People aren't as angry when we call them on the weekends. And, 11, 12 o'clock, I'll spend an hour or two in the office. And then either there's meetings or open houses, depending on what we have going on. I really make it a point to set myself up with meetings every single day. And I try to do them as early as possible in the morning. We have a long-standing 8 o'clock in the morning meeting with my team. We've actually moved it up to 7:30 in the morning, right? And now with the 90K 90 days challenge, it's going to move to 7:47, right? To be able to finish at 7:45 and then give 2 minutes for everybody to kind of reset, right? I really make it a point to get myself out there, because if I get myself out there, it means I'm putting on shoes, I'm putting on a shirt, I'm making myself presentable, right? And if I make myself presentable, my energy is automatically going to be stronger. I'm going to be better, right? So one of my favorite things that I like to do towards the end of the year is run a database audit, right? Take a look at my database, see what leads that I haven't spoken to in more than 90 days. And the reality is that if you're generating leads actively, or if you've had a really, really active quarter, like you probably haven't spoken to a bunch of people. And there's no need to be embarrassed, right? I literally reach out to people and I say, hey man, thank you so much for hanging out until I was able to get back to you, right? Like, oh, I'm sorry for, don't say that stuff. We don't apologize. We thank people for their patience instead of apologizing, right? So I use the holidays, especially now, like Christmas time and New Year's, to be like, hey man, what's going on? Did you accomplish all your goals? And you should start a conversation with the people, right? I have an email template website that's moderndayrealestate.org. If you go and you visit that website, you'll be able to go and download all of our templates. Now, I have a couple of revival texts that actually work really, 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 really well. I copy them from 2022, using them now in 2023, and literally just pop them in right here as an afterthought, because I thought, you know what, if we're already sitting over here, we're going to spend a little bit of time. It's super late. Let me give you some stuff that you can screenshot that you can actually use, right? And let me give you some stuff that you can implement, because this is what I like to do. I like to give as much as I can. Share what I have, right? Because if I can share what I have, that means that eventually someone's going to be able to use what I've given them to fish, not just to eat. And I love that, right? Giving other people the opportunities to grow on their own, right? Without holding them on a leash. So, hey man, it's me. A while back, like you guys can read that, right? A while back, we spoke about your goals to buy a house by the end of 2023. Have you been able to accomplish your goal, right? Very simple text message, very simple, phone conversation. It works both ways. And then it's the same thing with the seller, right? With sellers, I love just asking them, hey, if you can get X amount of money for your house, right? What would that number be? And do not fill in the number. Leave it blank. Copy and paste and send this message like this. Hey man, if you can get X amount of money blank for your house, right? What would that number be? And this was something that was very popular last year, something that's still popular now, because at the end of the day, people have one common interest when it comes to selling a house. They want to make as much money as they can, right? So service and all that other stuff, that works, right? There's some of these tips that we have here for price reductions as well, things that are working right now. And this is a lot of what I'll be sharing with you as well in the day-to-day throughout the 90K 90 days challenge, right? Because this is literally me priming myself to get ready for my day. So it's not like I'm sitting here and putting on a show, making it look really cool and then bouncing. I'm actually going to continue implementing. There are even going to be some days where we'll go straight from the call into a dial session, straight from the call into something else, right? Navigating through certain things. Because at the end of the day, I believe that a coach, a leader, is only as good as how they can explain, articulate, and communicate the things that they've learned to other people, for them to be able to learn them, for them to be able to understand them well enough to be able to explain them to somebody else. Right? Because a true leader has no fear in other people learning his tricks or his secrets. Matter of fact, the more people learn my stuff quicker, the more people I'm now able to look at and say, hey, we're on the same frequency. Why don't you just handle a couple of these people, right? And why don't you mentor them? Why don't you show them it's an opportunity for more collaboration instead of saying, oh, I don't want to do this. And obviously, price reductions, we always do those on Friday, and we always do those on Friday after 3 p.m. because everybody wants a shot. Everybody wants to get home and smoke that joint. Everybody wants to go home and party and whatever. So, hey, man, listen, I just want to call you real quick. We've had 11 showings this week, and we haven't really had any offers. I was thinking, maybe to go back to where I had priced you out like 4 weeks ago. Yeah, man, whatever, cool. Just send me the paperwork. Bye. Super simple, easy conversations. Usually they're less than 60 seconds. Any new listing that I ever take, I also have a price improvement script that I've built it into since the beginning of Q4, right? And it's actually very important right now to add these terms to your listing agreement, because sellers right now, they're being hounded and everybody's trying to get their business. So you may turn around and you may try to have a conversation with your seller and you were very confident about your skills and you're like, hey, no cancellation fee. If you don't like anything, that's fine. Just let me know. And then all of a sudden you're trying to explain to them what's happening with pricing and it's not working out, right? So these are also things that we'll deal with, right? These are terms that I add in. My favorite thing to really add in my listing agreement terms are that the listing agent recommends, right, X amount as a listing price. Seller insists on listing X, right? If we do not have a signed offer by X date, we are going to reduce, seller agrees to reduce the price to X. And we just add in the additional terms, right? So some of the questions you can ask yourself in terms of where do I get all this confidence from? And all these things that I'm talking about sound great, but when you get put on the spot, what is really helping me be able to think, and what is the method that I'm using to be able to respond back, to people who ask me these questions, hey, why am I paying you 6%, right? Well, what value am I actually pitching, right? What's my sales model? And can I explain in less than 20 seconds? The answer is yes. My focus is helping buyers and sellers get as much money or a high of a return as possible in their investment. It's that simple. 10-second pitch, right? What's the plan of action for listings? Do you have one document that you can use in the 90K 90 days challenge for Q3? I actually shared all of those documents as well, and I'll be doing that too. And the idea is to give you something that's tangible and actionable. There's no point in saying, hey, the challenge today is to practice this and then not give you the assets, right? And I'm not here trying to say, listen, pay me for coaching, because I don't want to be your coach. I don't want to be responsible for your production. I don't want to be responsible for your growth. I can barely keep my own shit together. But at the same time, if I can sit here and I can share what I'm going through, and we can do this as a collaborative community effort, what can happen is beautiful, because there's a bunch of other people, 18 of us, who finished the last 2 challenges, and we've been able to really figure this out. And their buyer pipelines are full. Their seller pipelines are full. They got plans, right? So now my question to you is, what changes are you making for 2024? With this new knowledge that you just picked up right now, right? What are you doing? And what are you choosing to leverage in 2024? And what do those steps look like for you? And when you go back and you're going to watch the replay, right? You're going to sit down, you'll figure that out. And, you'll actually be able to write that down and like see what you're doing. So just so you guys know, this is the tech stack that I'm using right now. And this is the tech stack that we're going to run through in the 90K in 90 days challenge. Okay. So at the very basic, like, I personally believe that you need to have a CRM, you need to have some sort of automations, you need to have some sort of dialer, and you need to have a script talk partner. In Miami, when I use the term role play, people get a little uncomfortable. I'm just trying to practice scripts, right? Real estate scripts, that is. And the goal here really is to try to get myself into a point that when I hear certain words, when I have certain things going on, I am super confident in what I'm going to say next. Not because I prepared my response in my head, but because I know that whatever the seller is going to tell me, I'm going to stop a second, I'm going to think about what they're saying. I'm going to identify what type of personality type they are. And then I'm going to be able to respond back because I am confident in the scripts that I've been practicing. And some of us were doing tons of dials, but we're not having any conversions. And we have 10 conversations a day and no one wants to have an appointment with me. Well, when was the last time you actually spent 30 minutes practicing your scripts? When you know what to do in order to get, really you're like yourself up to date and where you want to be and what you need before the end of any weekend, and you're able to actually take that time to set and prepare yourself to get to where you want to go, then you're really able to look at yourself in the mirror and say, okay, what do I want to implement for my business in 2024? What are the things that I'm actually avoiding? What are the things that I know that I need to do that I'm not doing, or that I'm telling myself that I'm trying to do it, but I'm not actually doing it, but I can use it, but I'm not sure, right? Y'all, we got 9 days to get an order, right? And I literally say 9 days to get an order because some of us are not going to be working for anything more than 9, maybe even less than 9 days until the end of the year. So do me a favor and ask yourself, if there's one thing you'll walk away from this presentation with, right? What do you need to do to get to the next level? What do you have to do? Do you need coaching? Is there education that you need? Is there accountability? Here's the thing. Many people think that they need coaching, but in reality, they need accountability. Okay. So if you're going to pay somebody $1,000, $2,000 a month to literally be your friend, and you'll sit here and talk for 30 minutes or 40 minutes or an hour, and then you feel good about yourself, but you don't actually have anything quantifiable. Like, my coach literally treats me like I'm scared to talk, text my coach and tell him some things sometimes. Cause I know what his response is going to be. Who you bullshitting? Why, dude, come on, really? You told me something, why are you playing the game? And just as a heads up, I do sometimes drop a swear or something like that. So do me a favor, please, and have some grace when it comes to that. I did used to swear like a sailor. And one of my goals for 2023 was to really cut out a lot of that. And I'm sure that you guys can kind of agree with that I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I do still have a swear jar. I am trying to get to Bali, Indonesia next year. So, trying to fund that and figure that out. But at the same time, just, really, really working on it. So keep that in mind, right? So take the coaching and do me one favor. Instead of hiring a coach January 3rd, hold yourself accountable for 30 days first. Okay. See if this plan of action that you put together and the things that you're doing, you're still showing up. And if you're not showing up, then why are you going to waste your money on a coach? You may as well waste your money on getting a new certification for a new industry because you don't belong here, because you're not going to keep up. You may as well leave now instead of waiting 6 more months, right? Now, a big thing for me was connecting with mastermind groups, right? And this is why I created the challenge to begin with. I am 100% self-sufficient, where I do not need anybody's validation, help, money, income, time, energy, or anything for me to be able to continue growing my business, right? And I say that with respect and a certain level of uncouth humbleness, right? To where I've taken all of the things that I've learned and I've really implemented them in a crazy way. My coach literally said, Joe, you do not know how to do something on a small scale. It's true. I got my first tattoo and it's a full sleeve, right? Sat in a chair for 40 hours, right? First time I've ever experienced this. Literally, the tattoo artist looked at me and was like, Joe, are you okay? Right? And I was like, yeah, man, this is awesome, right? This is so cool, right? Because when I was able to find people that aligned with my mindset, right, it literally made my life so much more simple. My people, right, we can talk about anything that's happening in the office and we get it. And we're not judging each other. Paid, not paid, it doesn't make a difference. Frankly, I don't like spending money to get people to like me. I really don't, right? And if I do that, then I do that for clients, right? Because they will make me my money back. But why would I spend money to get people to like me? It's just, it's silly, right? It's based off of nothing. Americans, us here, beautiful American dream, right? We spend money we don't have sometimes to impress people we don't like with things that we're not even sure how we feel about them. This is just the reality, right? So let's break out of that, right? This is the mastermind that we have, right? It's called the Modern Day Way. And obviously this will convert over into the 90K 90 Days Real Estate Challenge Facebook group. So go ahead and scan this here. It will be available again on the replay. I'm going to move a little quickly just because we only have a few more slides left and we're running a little bit over. So these are a couple of things that I do in order to stay positive and focused, in order to limit distractions, okay? This year, I've read over 75 books, okay? And I literally published, and I shared on one of my posts, the link that you can go and you can download all of my reviews and everything I think about those books. I totally replaced TV and radio. I have not watched TV in over 5 years, right? And podcast, I have a podcast. Almost everybody here has thought at a certain point about making a podcast. Anybody who runs through the 90K 90 Days Challenge will either pick those podcasts back up or start again. Anna Marie's been killing it with her podcast. Go check it out. She also got this TV show going. Whole real cool life that she literally created over the last 12 months. This is dope, right? And she literally also like recommitted to her fitness goals. Get right with your money. You know, put more effort into relationships. Relationships don't have to be romantic relationships. It can literally be the relationship with yourself. When you look in the mirror, how do you feel, right? Master your sales scripts. Practice them often. You'll have more confidence when you do, right? And I actually push myself to go to local conferences. I go to like, not the BNI. I don't like paying to be part of things. I'm Jewish at the end of the day. And if I can save 50 bucks, I'll save 50 bucks, right? And what I'll do instead is I'll go to the Chamber of Commerce and I'll use that 50 bucks to buy 2 boxes of Krispy Kreme donuts and a little box of coffee. It goes a lot farther. I'm telling you that right now, okay? Cops love donuts. People at the Chamber of Commerce, they love donuts and coffee. No one really gets it for them enough, right? So that's your way in. Now, farming for me is something that I really, really enjoyed. Okay, I really enjoyed it because the way that I like budgeted myself, right, all the way in the beginning, was I started at the top of this like little chamber over here, right? I was at 35% expenses. Okay, then all of a sudden I went and I opened like my team, and my team actually went from 50, not even 50. We were almost at 65% expenses because we're a very listings heavy team, right? So every single one of my like listings now needs a sign, needs marketing, needs ads, needs, you know, open houses, needs flyers, needs all that stuff. So it actually went up to 65% and I was bugging out. So what did I do? I ran through this activity to cut expenses out. Okay. And the first thing that I said was, okay, listen, there's certain overhead that I must have, that I need to have for my operations. There's something I need to have. Okay. The assistant, the SkySlope software, the document writer, the .lube, whatever, the realty back office, whatever you're using. Then there were certain things that I'm not sure if like I'm gonna like actually continue using this program or not. So what I did was I tried to get myself, wean myself off of it. I don't want to cut myself out of it right away. I gave myself 90 more days and I set myself a reminder in my calendar. The way I like to set myself a reminder in my calendar is like, you know, go, hey Siri, send me a reminder for this day to do X, Y, and Z at this time, right? Done, finished. Now, the third category for me was there was something that was just sinking in like my business last year. And that was an additional office that was super far away from everybody else, right? We had 3 office locations. I was so proud to have 3 office locations. And the biggest thing I had to do was take a knife and pop it inside my ego and be like, dude, you're literally like pissing money away. Like there's no point in having another office with your name on it if it's not making you money. So we went and we shut it down, right? And that's just, we unsubscribed. I'm done, I'm finished. We're happy with what we have right now. We're focusing on what we're doing. Now, your top quarterly activity in 2023, right, should have been expense auditing. And really, like, that's the only place you'll see me swear in one of my presentations, like literally auditing the fuck out of your business. The reason I say that is because I love the numbers, I love the stats, I love everything I'm doing. And it's extremely important to really know and have a great control over your business. You know why? Because when I started spitting stats as soon as we started this call, how many people paid attention and were like, yo, dude, that's actually cool that he knows those numbers, right? Because when you have the stats, you automatically sound smarter because most people don't have the stats. Right? So it's not like you need to go and become smart. You literally just go to your MLS hot sheet, you pull the stats and you memorize those percentages. That's it. You just need to know the stats. If you know the stats, you're automatically going to be in more control of more situations than the average real estate agent. Now, in order for me to activate myself and get to where I needed to go, I needed to ask myself, first of all, like becoming a top performer, what's that going to change for my family? Like where's that going to put me, right? If I'm going to go from number 4 on the list to number 1 on the list, and I'm going to go from $200,000 this year, well, let's lower it down. I'm going to go from 16 or 18 or 25 or $35,000 this year. And I'm going to double that. And I'm going to put myself at 60. And you know what? I'm going to enroll in a challenge that's literally going to cost me almost $800 that I may or may not just have and may have to put on a credit card, but I'm going to bet on myself to right now go and completely change the trajectory of where my future family is going to go. What dreams am I going to be able to make come true, right? What am I going to be able to make happen? For me, it was a big thing about breaking generational curses. I'm really, really big into that. Like, you know, the way that like my parents grew up, the way that my grandparents grew up, all that stuff. Like personally, I feel like one set of my grandparents, if they saw me right now, they'd turn over in their grave. The other side, they'd probably shake my hand, right? Because like it's really just like this kind of fusion of me being able to just create this because this is what my unreal life looks like, right? And I keep asking myself this every single day. Who do I have to become, right? And what layer do I have to peel back in order for me to be able to get to this level? Who do I have to be? And honestly, I just had to become one with myself. I had to become confident and comfortable with me, right? And I was asking myself these things like, what habits I need to learn? What are the character traits I need? What are the characteristics of somebody who wants to become successful to the level that I want to be successful? If I want to go do something, right, and I'm not going to actually observe all of the character traits of the person that's going to be that top level G, then how am I going to expect to want to be there, right? You can't go to a high level meeting not dressed better than everybody else, right? Not necessarily better than everybody else, but to your nines, right? And then you show up, you're automatically going to command respect. But if you're missing a jacket, your shoes aren't, but you know, all that little stuff, you're not like put together, you automatically lose a certain level of respect, right? Perception is a very big part of our reality, right? So the first impression that you have on people, you really need to like level it up. And if you do need to level it up, then you got to do that, right? When you're a better version of yourself, what does life look like? Like, you know, this is just like real talk here for a second. Like, it's not gung ho, it's not fun, it's not exciting. It's not like, oh my gosh, you said that. It's reality. Like, how are you showing up to your business, right? I'm working to build a life, like literally for myself. And this year I've almost hit there where it's literally unbelievable. Like, I literally checked every single box on my list. Like, as a kid, like when I was living on the beach, going through all of my like my stuff, therapy and all that and whatnot. Like, I basically checked every single box, right? And that's because I got really, really clear on what those boxes mean. Does that mean that I'm done now? No, that means that a whole bunch of new boxes show up and I got to make more money because, you know, my like just that's just how it works, right? So sat down and I reviewed the questions with like people in my life who actually mattered. Like, hey, like what does it mean when I ask you, like, you know, what is me showing up to the best version of myself for you? What does that mean? And honestly, you know, anybody has like a spouse or a significant other and you sat down and asked them that question tonight, they probably won't even know how to answer that question because they've gotten so comfortable with who you are, with the routine, with what we've been doing, right? Because this is just, I mean, we just finished a crazy year, dude. Literally, congratulations, we all made it. It's been a crazy year. Some people haven't, right? Some people are out there waiting to come welcome you in like 2 nights, right? Like Friday night, hey, welcome back, good to see you. Make sure you leave me a tip. Hey, you know, I'm doing this full time now, right? Like, it's a little different, right? There's people who've left this industry and they couldn't figure it out. So you need to sit down and ask yourself these questions. Then you need to ask the people around you these questions. Because if you're going to allow yourself to be open to other people's feedback and literally not respond, like let somebody say the worst thing ever and just thank you. I appreciate that. And just sit and listen to it and own it. On my team, we don't have constructive criticism. We have something called feedback. Feedback is positive and negative. Doesn't make a difference. It's feedback. That's it. It's just I'm letting you know how that came to me. That's it. And by removing the positive and negative connotations and associations to it, it just makes it so much easier to navigate. Because remember, we're trying to achieve peak fluidity, right? We're literally about to go to the next level. If you found this information helpful at all in any sort of way, shape, or form, obviously, please feel free to leave me a review. This is something that I got super comfortable doing, right? It's just putting a QR code to my business and saying, hey guys, do me a favor. I'm awesome. You guys know I'm awesome, right? So do me a favor, please. And obviously leave me that review, right? Because if you leave me a review, what's going to end up happening is other people just like yourself who never really, you know, met me or had even an opportunity to sit down, you know, or through a class or anything like that. All of a sudden they're going to read these reviews from all you awesome people and be like, hey, I know that guy. That's so awesome. Okay, cool. Let's go check it out. Right. And ladies and gentlemen, you've officially like kind of completed the start off of what we're thinking here, right? Where this mindset comes from of actually being able to create 90K in 90 days. Because a lot of people, they'll turn around and, you know, they'll talk to you about making all this money, but then you go and you talk to them, or maybe you've gone out to dinner with them and laid out some money for the check, right? And then you find yourself kind of like chasing these people down. It's like, yo, like it's $80, it's $100. Like, seriously, I thought you were balling. What's up? Right? And there's a lot of people out there right now who their actions don't match their words don't match those actions. The second that I learned how to align everything together and then in a bulldog type way, protect what I've built, not allow anybody to push it over, anybody to dictate anything about my life at all. In the beginning, I got ridiculed. People were telling me, listen, dude, you're too bullish. You don't know how to run a team. You're brand new. You're going to learn. You'll shut down. You'll lose your business. The amount of people that left my office and then turned around and literally copied every single thing I was doing to try to like do what I was doing. Here's the coolest thing though. Copying me is the biggest form of flattery. But here's the funniest part. The person who actually gets like messed over is the person who copies you. You know why? Because when someone copies you, they take you in the mental state and the energy level and the state that you find yourself in right now. And that's it. They're done. It's like taking a tree that hasn't fully grown and cutting it down, saying, hey guys, look, I have a fully grown tree. It's not, all you have is that. There's no more roots. It's not growing. But if I allow myself to remove myself from how I may feel about how somebody else is taking my content and then continue thinking about, okay, well, how else can I expand? What was the feedback, right? What are people saying? What can I change? What can I do? I'm going to end up growing regardless. They're still going to be copying me, which means I'll always be one step ahead. And that's totally okay. Totally okay. It's totally okay to be ahead. It's totally okay to win. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not going to pitch you here on the challenge. I'm literally just going to show you a little bit of the mindset as to how we run. Okay. You guys have the link. You'll get an email right now with the recording. So you can go back and use this. And even if you choose to not move forward with the 90K 90 days challenge, that's totally okay. I want you to know that regardless of what and where and how you fit in to how you know me, if you shoot me a message on Messenger, or if you get my phone or whatever it is, I will do my best to respond back to you as soon as I can. As soon as I see the message, I'll hit you back. Okay. And I'm not here to make any money off of this. All of this, you'll notice that when you do go and sign up for the challenge, it's actually going to hit the nonprofit, right? Hungry No More. Now we're switching it over. We're opening up. It's calling Hungry No Mas, right? And the idea is that's what happens when you have a bunch of Latinos on your team. They change things around, right? And it's been fun, right? So we switch it up a little bit. And the idea now is that we're giving the opportunity to where anybody who wants to join, come through. If you don't make it all the way through, the money will go to the nonprofit. We will get you a tax receipt, and we appreciate you for playing. We'll see you in Q3. That's basically the idea. So thank you very much for being here. We'll put out this replay. If anybody has any questions, if there's anything that I can do to be of help, service to you in any way, shape, or form, you know where to find me. If there's any questions right now, I'll take 3 minutes now to answer them. Not everybody at once. I would say probably maybe let's just use the meeting chat function. And then if I need any clarity, we'll bring you guys up. I can stick around here for a couple more minutes. Other than that, thank you for being here. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you come January 1st.